You got to retrain yourself.
So you've never been on a podcast before? Well, this is going to be a learning experience, and you're going to learn
I listen to a lot of them, so I know the...
Do you ever just say, why don't these guys ever call me?
Yeah, I don't know. Working class bow hunter doesn't really care if I'm on it or not, so...
Here we go.
Perfect.
After that, we'll take it away. Are you ready?
Yep.
Me too. Okay. Well, hey, everybody. Matthew Olmican here for Short Lane Egg Supply, and here comes another media podcast. Last several episodes have been heavy on biologicals, and I'm like, let's get out of this bugs in the jug vibe, and let's start talking about, down in the dirt kind of stuff. Let's talk about some row cropping stuff. And the first thing that came to mind was Jake over here for Legend Seeds, and the way you say his last name is Andrel.
Got it.
How was I saying it?
Andrel, I think.
And Andrel. That makes no sense.
Close.
So, Jake, real quick, how long have you been with Legend Seeds?
So I've been with Legend full-time for 9 years. I started back in 2013 as an intern, intern again in 2014, and then been full-time, kind of transitioned from a account manager to an agronomist, and kind of into the role I am now. So,
well, fantastic. Sounds like it's been a great journey for you so far.
Oh, it's been fun. Love every minute of it. So.
Yeah, and then, Jake, the first time I ever met you, your brain goes 100 miles an hour.
They call that ADHD, but yeah, same thing.
But you're a tremendous wealth of knowledge, and what else is really what I appreciate about you is that you're not just product focused, you're more agronomic focused, and you make a lot of really good, unique, and precise observations to help with crops, whether it's alfalfa, corn, or soybeans, to perform better. And let's shift now. We talked about corn, and being in the area that we are, forage is a heavy thing around here.
Yep.
And I'm assuming you've probably seen yourself a fair share of alfalfa fields and probably gotten a lot of phone calls probing for an answer.
Yes.
And there's people right now that are taking a magic 8-ball and shaking it right now. Nobody knows what to expect with these alfalfa fields. So what would be your opinion on it?
Yeah, so they're probably going to be more right than I will be on my little prediction, but on the 8-ball
The farmers?
side, no, the 8-ball.
Oh, the 8. I got one right there.
We should see what it says. No, it's this year is going to be extremely variable. As of right now, sitting here today, what is today, March 18th?
March 18th.
As I think we're okay right now. What I'm extremely concerned about is, and hopefully they're wrong, the weather forecast that's coming up, or I should just say if we have any time between now and spring, going to kind of, I would say, hurt us this season, or kind of where we're not out of the woods yet, is if we get one of these big 18, 20, 22-inch snowfalls. I hope we don't. But, we're in Wisconsin. It's only mid-March. We normally don't plant corn until May 1st-ish.
So are you saying we don't want the heavy snow because you don't want the heavy snow cover, or you don't want the cold temperatures that go with the heavy snow?
Yes. No. Okay. All of it. But the thing you
all
don't.
The above.
The thing you don't want is to have that snow and then get a pile of rain. So like a system that comes in overnight, we get snow overnight followed by rain when it warms up the next day. To get that ice sheeting effect or that compression of that snow down. That's what happened in 2019. That's what happened back in 2013. We had one snowstorm. Both of them years that came in 2018 into 19. It was the 35 below zero for 4 days with no snow cover. That probably did it, most of it. But when you get that ice sheeting effect, that's what I'm really worried about, especially when our ground has little to no frost in it right now. You've got that melting snow effect combined with freezing at night, and it's just like making a layer cake, It's a bad situation.
Is it because it's causing, it suffocates that plant? Is it affecting the respiration?
Yep, so it affects the respiration. So that ice sheet essentially cuts off your tubules, or your growth from what's left from last year.
Tubules?
That's how it breathes. Yep, or your crown buds, So what happens is it essentially closes that off or just pinches them up tight so they can't get oxygen. Then they die from lactic acid kind of overproduction, if you will.
Interesting.
Yep. So, and those kind of situations where we see a lot of patchy, different kind of, an acre's dead here, half an acre. We got some really rough looking stuff here, and then most of the field's good. And that would be what you'd normally see in that situation. Or like, say we get a ponding water event in some low fields. That's kind of just nature of the beast, with the soils we have in this part of the state. We're bound to deal with those. The other thing that have been concerned about, and this is when my phone's been ringing off the hook, is what happened when my alfalfa broke dormancy last week when it was 65 degrees for 4 days.
You think it was even sooner than that?
Okay. I don't think it ever really truly went dormant, to be honest. So we have some fields over. So I live in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. I do a lot of shed hunting. I'm a big hunter, but I've just been in a lot of alfalfa fields the last couple of weeks. And so I've walked a lot of hay fields, kind of both motives, I guess you could say, both on the crop side and the deer side. But looking at these fields, there's a lot of them that I've been in since January that have looked the same from January now, and they've got an inch of growth on them, but they're just kind of stalled out. And then there's fields that are completely dead brown, and I don't know if they just haven't broke dormancy. And it's the difference. I'm even seeing differences in slopes of fields, for instance. So like if you have a south facing slope, that stuff has started to break dormancy. North facing slopes kind of behind. Now what you worry about with that is when you go from days that are 60 down to overnight lows of 15 in 3 days. And so usually 3 to 4 times of that freezing thawing, like the drastic, thawing and freezing, the deep freeze before it's toast. And that's the same thing once alfalfa really greens up and we get 2, 3, 4 inches of growth in the spring. Usually you can have a hard frost 3 times before that plant's pretty much toast. I think we're on the clock.
So
we're on the clock at about number 3 or 4 right now. So
I see.
That's the unknown. And I've been wrong before. I thought 2 years ago we were going to see massive winter kill on alfalfa. Wasn't that bad. There were some isolated pockets, and I would have thought it was going to be just apocalyptic, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I've had years where I thought it was going to be perfect, and it's completely all dead. So
kind of like the rule of thumb, and it sounds like this is like anybody you talk to, it's a last minute decision because there's been fields where they look dead and everybody else is greening up, and then all of a sudden you wake up the next morning and then the shit's up and going.
Yeah.
And then there's been fields where you had a slide on there showing that, or somebody did at one of your meetings, where it went from vibrant green and then it just hosed.
Yep, and died. Yep. And so I don't think we'll see that. That's what we saw in 2013. So I was a little baby intern at the time, driving around with the agronomist that was at Legend, and we were looking at a bunch of hay fields. And to me, back then, being not knowing what I know now, they looked perfectly green and everything looked hunky-dory. And I'm like, oh, why are we out here? He goes, this field will be dead in 14 days. I'm like, you'd be kidding me. And it was up 6-7 inches, and he goes, it'll be dead. And what actually had happened, we didn't necessarily have frost heaving or freeze heaving where the root crowns actually pop up out of the ground an inch or two. What actually happened was we had such hard freezing that the taproots actually broke about 1 foot to 1.5 foot down. So they had enough root reserves to get up and grow, and then it was just it's like poking a hole in the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket. Can't fill it with water because it all just runs out. There's nothing left. So, and I think we're out of the woods on that this year. I don't think we're going to see any of that. I guess the one thing you'll know is if we get a lot of patchy die-offs, it's going to be from stuff like what we're going to possibly have here next week. If it looked like you sprayed
ponding and all that.
If it looks like you sprayed it with, Roundup and dicamba and just absolutely nuked it off, it's from this freeze thaw cycle. I can't talk, but
so not necessarily we shouldn't be looking forward to the snow, which this is all like a catch-22 because everybody's like, we need more precipitation, but then if you have an alfalfa field, you're like, I really don't need this right now.
especially. And then the other thing is too, that kind of the afterthought is our ground temps have been above 32 degrees for most of the winter. So what happens above 32 degrees? Biological activity, and not on the biological side that's beneficial. Your Aphanomyces, your disease pressures, your fusariums, all those things are working against that alfalfa plant while it's already stressed out. So we may see some winter kill that way too when you start digging roots, splitting crowns, looking at tap roots, seeing discolorations. There might be a side to that we don't see, and it's a little early to start digging for that stuff. I guess if you dig roots now and they get that brown discoloration, the writing's on the wall. You already know what you're going to be doing.
So you could
kind of.
Everybody's waiting to go run and get their shovel now.
My phone's going to be ringing next week to go to the field.
You said.
I mean, if you really get heavy brown discoloration already at this point, and the way the weather pattern looks, you can pretty much I would pretty much say that field should probably get rotated, especially after the drought last year. Some of this stuff didn't recover after third cutting or second cutting, and knobs never came back. These fields have been, they have been up and down, left
through
and
the
right.
ringer.
It's kind of, we're in an unknown space. I can't remember a year as long as I've been alive that's been like the last 2 to 3. This kind of cycle, I guess. So we're kind of heading into the unknown on alfalfa. But as of right now, today, March 18th, I think we're still okay, but we're right on the edge of things not being okay.
So your advice right now would be is that we just gotta wait it out.
Yep. And realistically, and I've been the same way, I want to plant corn April 1st, April 5th, and it looked like we were gonna.
Yeah.
You look at over the years, most first crop alfalfa is not coming off till after Memorial Day weekend in general. So, we're 60 days from that. We still have a lot of time left to go. It's not something we need to, if my alfalfa doesn't green up by next week, I need to rip it out. We're not in that kind of situation yet. I've seen alfalfa that doesn't start to green up till the first week of May, and it all depends on that ground temperature. If we don't start getting ground temps into that, that upper 30, 40 type, actual surface temperature or 2 inches down, I should say, you're really not going to see a lot of green up anyways. That plant is just not going to take off.
I see.
So, and 60-degree rain would be the worst thing we could have right now, which we won't get. It's supposed to be 40. So
yeah.
But
how about a 40-degree rain?
40-degree rain would be not great, but
we need rain though.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of backwards on that. We need rain for the crops, but we don't need ice. That's the big thing. Get rain, no ice. I'd be fine if we got 3 inches of rain instead of all the snow they're calling for. That would be the best case scenario.
I see. Well, thanks everybody, but this concludes the end of our first video of multiple videos that we have coming with our conversation with Jake. He covered a lot of great topics, and we decided that we're going to break this into multiple series of videos. So there's going to be 2 more that comes after this one. So stay tuned for more of those coming up. But if you like this video, I want you to hit the little like button there down at the bottom. Share this with your internet friends, and we'll catch you next time.